The alien city of Varka was always loud, full of metallic sounds, strange smells, and bright markets glowing under twin suns. But that afternoon, the noise turned into something darker, something sharp and terrifying. A small human boy named Ethan walked through the busy streets holding a small wooden toy soldier. It was old, carved by his father long ago. He smiled every time he looked at it, unaware of the eyes watching him from the shadows. Humans were rare here. Only a few families allowed to live among the alien clans. They were considered weak, fragile, and sometimes entertainment. Many aliens laughed whenever a human passed by. But that day, laughter turned to violence. 3 tall aliens with red skin and curved horns stepped out from a narrow street. Their armor was cracked and dirty. The mark of Clan Varkar, a group feared for its cruelty. They surrounded the little boy, their claws clicking together as they grinned. "Lost, tiny thing," one of them mocked, his voice like sand grinding against metal. Ethan stepped back, clutching his toy. His eyes were wide, his lips shaking. He didn't answer. Another alien bent low, almost nose to nose with the child. "Say something, human," he hissed. "Or have you already learned your place?" The crowd nearby watched but didn't move. No one wanted to get involved when Clan Varkar was near. The aliens controlled half the city through fear, and even the guards looked away. The first blow came fast. The alien kicked Ethan's toy out of his hands. The small wooden soldier flew through the air and broke in two when it hit the ground. Ethan ran toward it, trying to pick it up, but another blow knocked him down. His knees scraped against the cold street. "Blood mixing with dust, look at him." One alien laughed. "He bleeds red like us." "Pathetic," said another. "Let's teach him respect." A stone was thrown. Then another. The boy cried out, curling into a small ball. His tiny fingers reached for the broken toy, trying to fit the pieces back together as if fixing it could fix everything. Somewhere far away, a communicator beeped in a small guard outpost. The screen showed a red alert. "Human miner attacked in Sector 9. Immediate response needed." A soldier sitting at the console froze when he saw the ID attached. The child belonged to Captain Marcus Hale. Marcus was known across the colonies as a man of iron control, calm even in chaos, but when he heard the message, his face turned pale. The room fell silent. Every soldier in that outpost knew what would happen next. Marcus stood up slowly. His armor was half unbuttoned, his shirt still stained from training. He didn't speak, he just grabbed his old communicator, the one he used during the Earth Wars. His voice was quiet but deadly when he said, "Where?" "Sector 9, Captain," the guard stammered. "Clan Varkar territory." Marcus didn't wait for him to finish. Back in the marketplace, Ethan tried to crawl away. His small hands trembled, his tears dropped onto the broken toy. "Please," he whispered. "Please stop." But the aliens only laughed harder. One lifted him by the collar of his shirt and dangled him like a caught animal. "You humans think this is your world now?" he sneered. "You think you belong here?" Suddenly the air changed. The crowd stepped back as a deep vibration rolled through the ground. It was faint, like thunder from far away, but it grew stronger, closer, heavier. The alien holding Ethan looked around. "Uneasy? What's that?" Another replied, "Footsteps." From the edge of the market, through the mist of dust and light, a human figure appeared, Captain Marcus Hale. His uniform was plain, but the way he walked made even the bravest alien step back. He said nothing. His eyes moved to the boy, then to the broken toy, then to the aliens. The silence that followed was suffocating. One of the aliens smirked, trying to act brave. "This isn't your concern, human," he growled. "Go back to your—" Marcus moved before the sentence finished. In one step he closed the distance, his hand caught the alien's wrist and twisted. A snap echoed through the air. The alien screamed and dropped to his knees. The others lunged, but Marcus didn't hesitate. He moved with precision, each strike fast, clean, silent, within seconds. All 3 were on the ground, groaning in pain. Ethan crawled toward his toy again. Marcus knelt beside him, gently picking up the broken pieces. He pressed them into the boy's shaking hands and said softly, "It's all right, Ethan. I'm here now." The boy nodded weakly, tears still falling. He looked at Marcus as if he were the only safe thing in the galaxy. When Marcus stood again, his eyes were no longer calm. They burned with something the aliens had forgotten humans could feel. Rage. Cold and righteous, he looked around at the terrified onlookers and said in a low voice, "Tell your council. I'm coming." And then he walked away, leaving silence and fear behind him. while Ethan held his toy close, whispering to it through tears. He's going to make them pay, isn't he? He was right. In 10 minutes, the galaxy would remember what a human's anger truly meant. The marketplace was quiet after the chaos. The aliens who once laughed now whispered in fear. The broken pieces of the child's toy still lay on the ground, marked with tiny drops of blood. But Marcus Hale was already gone, walking through the dust toward the command center. Every step he took felt heavy, like a drumbeat calling for war. Inside the human outpost, soldiers stood up the moment he entered. They had seen that look before, years ago during the Earth campaigns. It was the look of a man who had just crossed a line he could never come back from. Status of the boy? Marcus asked. His voice was calm but cold. Alive, one medic said quickly. But injured. Sir, fractured arm, several bruises, emotional trauma. Marcus didn't blink. And the attackers? Clan Varker soldiers, local thugs, the officer replied. The council says it's being handled internally. Marcus stared at him for a long moment, then whispered, handled internally, as if testing how the words tasted. They tasted bitter. He walked into his quarters, shutting the door behind him. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then he reached for the small communicator on his desk, a model older than most soldiers there had ever seen. He pressed one button, and a voice crackled through. Commander Hale? It's been a while. General Reeves, Marcus said quietly. I need access to my old field armor. Authorization Delta 7. There was a pause. Marcus, we both know what that means. Yes, he replied. That's why I'm calling. He ended the transmission before Reeves could argue. His hand shook slightly as he opened a drawer and pulled out an old photograph. It showed a small boy holding a wooden toy soldier. Standing beside a smiling woman, they were gone now. Taken years ago in the first alien-human conflict. Ethan was all he had left. Marcus placed the photo face down and stood up. Never again, he muttered at the same time. In the upper spire of Varka, the alien council of clans gathered in their tall glass chamber. The city below shimmered with neon light. The council leader, a tall alien with blue skin and gold eyes, read the report with little interest. A human child attacked, he said, waving the document lazily, and their soldier retaliated. Injured 3 Varkar guards, typical human overreaction. Another counselor, older and wiser, frowned. You underestimate them. Warlord Jarok was humiliated once by a single human on the battlefield. They do not forget such insults, the leader laughed. Let him come. He'll find nothing but fire waiting for him. But even as they laughed, a silent drone entered the chamber. It dropped something metallic in the center of the floor. A sealed capsule. Glowing faint blue, the guards stepped back nervously. One of them bent down and opened it. Inside was a small note written in a human's hand. This is your one warning. Attached beneath the note was a Varkar crest, cut cleanly in half. The council leader's laughter faded. His claws clicked together in anger. Find him, he ordered. Bring me Marcus Hale's head before sunset. Back at the outpost, Marcus was already preparing. He stood in front of a steel locker that hadn't been opened in years. When he keyed in his old command code, the door hissed and released a faint trail of dust. Inside lay his old armor, gray and scorched. With a human flag burned into the shoulder plate, he lifted the helmet slowly, remembering the last time he wore it. The screams, the smoke, the endless night of war. He once promised he would never wear it again. But that promise died the moment a human child cried in an alien street and no one moved to help. He locked the armor piece by piece. The sound echoed through the empty barracks, like metal thunder rolling across the stars. A young soldier watched from the doorway, trembling. Sir, what are you going to do? Marcus turned to him, eyes cold but steady. Deliver a message. To who? The soldier asked. To everyone who forgot what happens when you hurt a human. He took a small communication chip from the desk and inserted it into the main console. The system flickered to life, displaying the symbol of the Galactic Council. Marcus recorded his voice message directly into their network. His words were few but clear. You failed to protect one of ours, so I will deliver justice myself. Tell Clan Varkar that their time ends tonight. He sent the message through every open channel. The entire sector would hear it within minutes as he walked out into the night. The twin suns of Varka were sinking below the horizon, painting the sky red like blood. The wind carried dust and silence. Every door he passed closed quietly. Every alien who saw him turned away. They could all feel it, something ancient awakening in the heart of a human soldier. And somewhere deep within Clan Varkar's fortress, alarms began to sound. The warlord looked up from his throne, frowning. "Who dares threaten us?" The guard's voice trembled as he replied, "A human, my lord. His name is Marcus Hale." The warlord's grin widened. "Then bring him to me." He had no idea that the message had already been delivered, not in words but in fate. For Marcus Hale was already coming, and when he arrived, there would be no more laughter in the city of Varka. Night fell heavy over Varka. The twin suns were gone, and the streets that once glowed bright now looked cold and hollow. The air smelled of metal, dust, and something darker. Fear. In the distance, thunder rolled, but it was not weather. It was the sound of Captain Marcus Hale opening the doors of the old Earth Command hangar. The same place where he once trained soldiers to fight alien wars. The same place he swore never to return to inside. The lights flickered weakly as he walked down the long corridor. Each step echoed like a warning, rust clung to the walls, and old banners still hung, symbols of Earth's strength now forgotten by this new galaxy. He reached the reinforced storage chamber and pressed his hand against the old scanner. It hesitated, then beeped in recognition. A deep metallic hiss filled the air as the blast door slid open. There it was, waiting for him. His old combat suit, scarred and dull gray. Each mark told a story, of fire, of loss, of survival. The chest plate still carried the burned insignia of his old unit. Terra Defense Unit 09. Marcus stepped closer and ran a gloved hand over the armor. "Did you miss me?" He muttered quietly. His reflection in the steel looked older, harder. But his eyes, they burned with the same light as before. He began to gear up slowly, piece by piece, the armor locked in with soft clicks, sealing him back into the person he had buried years ago. As he attached the last piece, the helmet, his breathing deepened, the sound echoing inside the suit. He opened an old crate nearby. Inside lay a weapon wrapped in cloth, a plasma blade, humming faintly with a blue glow. It was banned long ago for being too brutal, too powerful. But Marcus didn't care. He unwrapped it carefully, his hands steady. "Time to remind them," he whispered. Suddenly the hangar door creaked open. A young officer, barely 20, stood there nervously. "Captain," he stammered, You can't go alone. Clan Varkar's fortress is surrounded by..." Marcus turned his head slowly, the faint blue light from his blade reflecting in his visor. "Do you have children, Lieutenant?" The officer blinked. "No, sir." "Then you won't understand," Marcus said softly. "They attacked one of ours. There's no negotiation for that." The officer swallowed hard. "The council will call this an act of war." Marcus smiled without humor. Then they should have thought about that before letting a child bleed in their streets. He brushed past the officer, heavy boots thudding on the floor. The younger man hesitated, then called out, "Sir, at least let me send backup." Marcus didn't turn around. By the time they arrive, it'll be over. Outside, rain began to fall, thin, silver drops glowing under the streetlights. The whole city seemed to hold its breath as Marcus walked toward the transport dock. Every alien who saw him stepped aside, whispering his name like a curse. He reached his small gunship, Iron Wing, an old Earthcraft patched with alien tech. It roared to life as he climbed inside. Systems came online one by one. His helmet screen flashed, fuel 87%, shield 60%, weapons armed. He entered coordinates for Varkar Fortress. The heart of the enemy clan, the flight computer warned. Multiple anti-air defenses detected, Marcus chuckled. Good. As the ship lifted off, the city lights blurred beneath him. He looked down once more at Varka, its towers, its false peace, and whispered, "You built your world on our silence. Now you'll hear us speak." Minutes later, the Varkar fortress came into view. Massive, spiked towers surrounded by energy barriers. Floodlights scanned the dark sky, searching for threats. But Marcus Hale was no longer a man they could stop. He was a storm in human form. He flew low, silent, using the canyons as cover. His ship's sensors picked up hundreds of guards and drones. It didn't matter. He didn't need stealth anymore, only 10 minutes. He landed his craft on a rocky ridge overlooking the fortress and stepped out into the rain. The plasma blade came alive in his hand with a sharp hiss, bright enough to paint the cliffs blue. He looked at the fortress below and muttered to himself, "You hurt a child. Now I hurt your world." He placed a small recording device on a rock, its red light blinking. It began to transmit across all open frequencies. His voice filled the air, reaching every radio, every council channel, every listening ear in the sector. To all who think humans are weak, remember this night 10 minutes from now. You'll understand why we survived every war you started. Then he jumped from the ridge, the storm swallowing him whole, and below, alarms began to scream through the fortress as shadows moved among the lightning. The hunt had begun. The storm raged over Varka that night. Lightning danced across the black sky, flashing over the towers of the Varkar fortress. Inside, guards hurried through the halls, shouting orders, but it was already too late. Marcus Hale had landed. He moved like a shadow through the rain, drops hissing off his armor. His plasma blade glowed faint blue in the darkness. The fortress walls loomed tall ahead, spiked, black and alive with guards. Their scanners swept across the yard, but Marcus was already beneath them, silent and focused. At the main gate, 2 alien guards stood joking. They never heard him approach. A flash of blue light, one fell, then the other. The smell of burning armor filled the air. Marcus dragged their bodies aside and slipped inside. The first alarm went off 5 seconds later. Inside the fortress, chaos exploded. Sirens screamed. Red lights flashed through metal corridors. Alien voices echoed in panic. "Intruder! Human! Sector 3! Marcus ran through the narrow halls, every move sharp and precise. His suit's systems highlighted every enemy in red. He didn't waste a single shot. Every blast from his rifle hit clean, 1 shot, 1 fall. A group of 6 guards blocked the corridor ahead. He threw a small pulse grenade. The explosion lit up the hallway, and when the smoke cleared, they were gone. He moved fast. No hesitation, no fear, only purpose. 2 minutes in, he whispered to himself. 8 to go on the upper floors. The Warlord Jirok stood on his balcony, watching the chaos below. His golden armor shimmered in the red light of the alarms. His eyes burned with rage. "Find him," he roared. "Bring me the human's head." But Marcus was already climbing the walls beneath him. The magnetic clamps in his boots gripped the surface as he moved upward like a machine. A squad of Varkar soldiers found him halfway. Their weapons fired blue energy bolts across the rain. Marcus dodged between shots, returned fire, and cut through them before they could reload. One soldier tried to crawl away, whispering, "He's not human." By the 6th minute, half the fortress was silent. Smoke rose from the east wing where the weapons depot had exploded. Marcus used the distraction to enter the council chamber, the heart of the fortress, where Jirok waited. The heavy doors burst open under his kick. Metal bent and groaned as he stepped through. Rain dripped from his armor, his blade humming softly. Warlord Jirok sat on a throne made of bones and metal, surrounded by guards. "You've made a mistake. Human," he growled. "This is Varkar ground, and here, we are gods." Marcus didn't answer. He walked forward slowly, the glow of his blade painting the walls. "You hurt a child," he said quietly, "and now you'll learn what that costs." The guards charged. But Marcus moved like lightning. His blade sliced through armor. Sparks flew, screams echoed. In seconds, the chamber was filled with smoke and silence. Only Jirok remained, standing tall and breathing heavy. He pulled a massive axe from his back, its edges glowing red. "You think you can kill me?" he shouted, swinging it with a roar. Marcus blocked it, the clash sending shockwaves across the room. The floor cracked beneath them. Jirok swung again and again, but Marcus was faster, stronger. He ducked, rolled, and drove his blade through the alien's chest. Jirok staggered, disbelief in his eyes. You're just one human." He gasped. Marcus leaned close and whispered, "That's all it takes." With one clean motion, he removed the warlord's head. The crown rolled across the floor and stopped at the feet of a fallen guard. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the plasma blade powering down. Marcus looked around the blood-stained chamber and exhaled slowly. He picked up the warlord's head, tied it with a strip of torn flag, and carried it with him. When he stepped outside, rain washed over his armor. The alarms had gone quiet. Only the sound of thunder remained. 10 minutes, he murmured. Checking the clock on his visor, it read 09:57. He turned toward the horizon where the alien council tower stood, glowing faintly in the storm. Time to deliver the message. His ship lifted from the burning fortress, engines roaring through the storm below him. The once powerful Varkar clan lay in ruins and high above the clouds. Marcus Hale carried the proof of what one human's wrath could do. That night, the galaxy learned a lesson written in fire: never touch a human child. The city of Varka woke under the sound of thunder, not from the skies, but from the fortress that burned through the night. Flames stretched into the clouds. Painting the horizon red, smoke rolled through the air, carrying the scent of metal and blood. The council tower, tall and shining, stood untouched in the heart of the city. Its golden glass reflected the destruction far away. Pretending it had nothing to do with it, inside, the alien council gathered in panic, their long robes sweeping across the marble floor. Voices clashed, orders shouted, lies spoken quickly to hide fear. "Clan Varka is gone," one counselor barked. "Thousands dead? What monster did this?" Another hissed, "A human, they say, a soldier." The council leader slammed his hand on the table. Impossible, no human could do that alone, but as he spoke, the great doors at the end of the chamber trembled once. Then again, a heavy echo rolled through the hall. The guards near the entrance exchanged nervous looks. Who's out there?" one asked. The answer came in silence. The doors exploded inward, shards of metal scattering across the polished floor. Smoke drifted in like a ghost, and through it walked Captain Marcus Hale. His armor scorched, his helmet cracked, but his steps steady, unbroken, unstoppable. Every eye in the chamber locked on him. The guards raised their weapons, but the council leader lifted a trembling hand. "Hold fire," he whispered. There was something in the human's eyes that made even war-hardened aliens freeze. Marcus said nothing at first. He reached into a small sack at his side and pulled something out. It hit the ground with a wet, heavy thud, rolling slowly across the floor, leaving a trail behind it. It stopped at the base of the council's golden table. The room went silent. It was Warlord Jarok's head, his golden crown still attached. Eyes frozen open in terror. Gasps filled the chamber. Some counselors stood, others stumbled back. One guard dropped his weapon. Marcus looked around the room, his voice low but clear. "You call yourselves rulers," he said. "You let a child bleed in your streets while you argued about rules." The council leader regained some of his courage. You have committed murder on sovereign soil. You will be executed for this." Marcus stepped closer, the sound of his boots echoing in the silence. "You think I care about your laws?" he said. "You lost the right to speak of justice when you stood by and watched." The leader's voice wavered. "You cannot kill your way to peace, human." Marcus stopped only a few feet away. The cracked visor of his helmet reflected the alien's golden eyes. "Maybe not," he said quietly, "but I can make sure no one forgets what happens when you harm one of us." He turned, looking at every council member, his words cutting through the air like a blade. "For every human hurt I will answer. For every child who cries I will come." "You built this peace on fear, now feel ours," a counselor whispered. Trembling, "You'll start a war." Marcus looked back at him. "Then maybe you'll finally understand what it feels like to fight for something worth protecting." He pressed a small device onto the table. An old Earth recorder. It flickered to life, projecting a hologram of Ethan, the small human child, still bruised but alive. The boy's soft voice echoed in the chamber. "He saved me." For the first time, no one spoke. The aliens who had ruled this city with pride now stood in silence before a single human. The image of the broken toy soldier appeared beside the hologram, a symbol of everything they had ignored. Marcus turned to leave, his shadow stretching across the floor. "Next time," he said, his voice calm. "I won't stop at one clan." The guards stepped aside without command, some even lowered their weapons, watching him walk past as if they were in the presence of something divine, or dangerous beyond words. When he reached the doors, he paused, looking back one last time. "Clean up your world," he said quietly, "or I'll do it for you." Then he was gone, disappearing into the storm outside. The rain washed over him as he walked down the marble steps. The sky rumbled. The tower behind him glowed with golden light, but the council inside remained silent, afraid to move, afraid to speak. Later, when the suns rose again, the people of Varka found the warlord's head displayed on the council gates. Beneath it, a message carved into the metal. "Justice is not spoken, it's done." And from that day, every alien child in the city was taught a new rule whispered at night. Never hurt a human child, for the stars themselves will send a soldier to your door. The rain stopped by morning, but the city of Varka did not return to normal. Smoke still rose from the ruins of the Varkar fortress, and the Golden Council Tower stood silent. Every citizen, alien or human, had heard the same whisper echoing through the streets. The human did it. He killed the warlord in 10 minutes. Some said it was a lie, others called it an exaggeration, but the truth was carved into the council gates for all to see. The warlord's severed head hung high with the message, "Justice is not spoken, it's done." For the first time in years, the proud alien clans walked the streets quietly, avoiding the humans they once mocked. No one dared to speak against them now. The guards who once ignored human suffering now saluted when a child passed, pretending they always had respect. The story of Captain Marcus Hale spread faster than light. Within days, the tale traveled across trade routes, through colonies, across star systems, each version more dramatic than the last. One human destroyed an entire fortress. He fought an army alone. He made the warlord kneel before cutting him down. The truth didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the message, and the message was clear. Humans were not weak anymore. On the far side of the galaxy, in a smoky bar filled with mercenaries, a grizzled alien leaned forward, whispering to his friend, "You heard about the 10-minute human?" His friend scoffed, "That's just a myth." The first alien shook his head. "Maybe, but even myths have a reason to be born." Back on Varka, the small boy Ethan sat near the statue of his broken toy soldier. The people had built it overnight, humans and aliens together. It wasn't grand, just a figure of a child holding a small wooden toy. But to Ethan, it was everything. He held the repaired toy soldier in his hand, tracing the lines with his small fingers. His arm was still bandaged, but his eyes were brighter now, stronger. A woman approached, a nurse from the human outpost. "He's gone." "You know," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "I know. Do you think he'll come back?" Ethan looked at the horizon, where smoke still touched the clouds. "He doesn't need to," he said quietly. "He already did what he had to." At the same time, in a distant council hall on another planet, high-ranking alien diplomats argued, "If we do nothing, more will follow his example," one hissed. "Humans are unpredictable," another replied. "They love peace, but when pushed, they become something else. They become unstoppable," whispered the eldest, her voice heavy with memory. Just like Earth once was, some wanted revenge, to send fleets to destroy the remaining human settlements, but most stayed silent, remembering the image of the warlord's head, the burning fortress, the calm voice of Marcus Hale echoing through every transmission line. "You failed to protect one of ours. We will protect our own." Those words became more than a threat, they became a creed. In the months that followed, humans across alien worlds began to walk with their heads high. Shopkeepers stopped refusing to serve them. Schools began accepting human children without insult, and the guards who once sneered now opened doors. But somewhere far from all of this, on the edge of a forgotten asteroid belt, a small ship drifted quietly through space, its hull scarred, its engines humming softly. Inside sat Marcus Hale, staring out at the stars. His armor lay beside him. Scratched and dented, his hands were bare now, one holding a cup of cold coffee, the other holding Ethan's broken toy soldier, repaired. Though the cracks still showed, he replayed the memory in his head, the boy's small trembling voice saying, "He saved me." Marcus exhaled slowly. "No, kid," he murmured. "You saved me." The stars outside glittered like 1,000 eyes watching him. He had no orders, no mission, no medals waiting, just silence, and the faint echo of thunder in his heart. He knew the council would never forgive him. They would hunt him across the stars, call him a terrorist, a murderer, but he didn't care. Because now every alien in the galaxy knew one truth: humans protect their own. And even in hidden corners of alien colonies, children began to carve small wooden toys and call them Hale soldiers. They would whisper to each other at night, "If someone hurts you, call for the 10-minute human, he'll come." Marcus smiled faintly as his ship drifted into the dark. The communicator blinked with a new message. Unidentified signal, distress beacon, human origin. He stared at it for a long moment, then reached forward and activated his thrusters. The ship turned slowly, engines glowing blue, disappearing into the endless black of space. Because somewhere someone was crying again. And Marcus Hale, the legend, the soldier. The 10-minute human was not finished yet. Years passed and the fires of Varka faded into history. But the story of that night refused to die. What began as whispers became songs. What was once fear turned into legend. They called him the 10-minute human, the man who burned a fortress to ash and made an empire kneel. Across alien colonies, markets, and war academies, his name was spoken in quiet awe. Some described him as a ghost. Others said he was an avenging spirit sent from the old Earth gods. A few claimed he was not one man at all, but a symbol, something every human carried deep inside. The fury to protect what they loved on the planet Tyrion. A small alien child sat in a classroom beside human students. Their teacher, an old alien scholar, told the story as part of history. Long ago, he began. There was a man who walked into a fortress alone. The children leaned forward, eyes wide. "What happened, teacher?" The old scholar smiled sadly. He reminded the galaxy what a human heart can do. Even the alien elders who once ruled through fear now spoke the name Marcus Hale with respect. Some claimed he had vanished among the stars. Others believed he still wandered, helping those who cried for justice. Every world gave the legend its own shape. On one mining colony, they said he appeared whenever humans were enslaved, breaking chains and disappearing before dawn on another. They believed his voice spoke through the storms. Whenever thunder rolled, they whispered, "He's watching." The truth was lost to time. But one thing never faded, the message carved into metal. Remembered by all, justice is not spoken, it's done. In the ruins of Varka, where the fortress once stood, the land had turned green again. Children played among the flowers growing over broken stone, and in the center stood a statue. Simple, but powerful. A man holding a small boy's hand. Both looking toward the stars, the boy in the statue held a small wooden soldier. Cracked but whole, every year humans and aliens gathered there to light candles beneath the statue. They didn't call it a war memorial. They called it the promise Ethan, now grown, stood among them one evening, his hair gray at the edges, his uniform worn. He had become an ambassador between human and alien worlds, speaking of peace but carrying fire in his heart. He placed a candle at the statue's base and whispered, "You were right, Captain. You didn't need to come back. You never really left." The crowd behind him grew quiet. A child tugged at his coat. "Is it true?" she asked. "He destroyed a whole army in 10 minutes?" Ethan smiled gently. "No," he said. "He saved a child in 10 minutes. The army destroyed itself after that night. As the candles flickered and the stars shimmered above, a soft rumble of thunder rolled across the valley. People looked up, smiling. Some swore they saw a streak of blue light flash across the sky. Far beyond, on the edge of deep space, a small, weathered ship drifted quietly between nebula clouds. Inside, a lone figure sat at the controls. Staring at the glowing horizon, Marcus Hale had aged, but his eyes still burned with that same calm fire. His ship's log filled with messages from humans across distant worlds, pleas for help, stories of hope, words of thanks. He never answered them, but he read every one. And when he found a cry that sounded like Ethan's once had, he would set course without hesitation. He didn't fight for medals or power or revenge. He fought because no one else would. One day, his ship's AI asked softly, "Captain, how long will you keep doing this?" Marcus looked out into the stars, smiled faintly, and said, "Until there's no one left who needs to." The ship's engines glowed blue as it turned toward a distant signal. A new world. A new cry. Another soul in need. The stars swallowed him once again, his name carried only by the wind of memory. But in every alien city where injustice stirred, and every human settlement where fear began to rise, people would whisper 3 words to give each other strength. He's still out there. And when thunder rolled across the sky, children would press their hands to their hearts and smile, because somewhere in the dark among the endless stars, the 10-minute human still walked, watching, waiting, protecting. The soldier who reminded the galaxy that humanity never forgets its children.